Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzzer. Call.
Take him back! Take him out!
You die in prison as well.
First up, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada, where 27-year-old Jimmy Carter Kim is in court to determine his competency to stand trial. Kim pleaded not guilty to 83 felony charges, including kidnapping, sexual assault, battery, and lewdness with a child. The charges stem from two different incidents in which he allegedly drugged, kidnapped, and raped two underage teenage girls who he held captive in his bedroom.
Rona, can I have a say?
Pardon me?
Can I have a say in this?
Well, I tried to give you a say, but you refused to talk to the doctor.
No, I spoke to the doctor.
Well, there was a second doctor, Dr. Paglini, you refused to speak to.
Under Nevada law, a defendant must undergo two independent psychological evaluations before a judge can make a ruling on competency. In Kim's first evaluation, he was found incompetent, but he refused to speak to a second doctor.
Mr. Kim, pursuant to Nevada law, NRS 178.415, I'm demanding you custody for the Lake Crossing Markside Hospital for further observation.
I don't see what the relevance of me. Why is my competency in question?
Because your lawyer challenged your competency or questioned it. I appreciate that you don't agree with Nevada law. I apologize that you don't agree with it. It doesn't really matter whether you agree with it or not.
What so far has been a respectful dialogue between judge and defendant is about to take a strange turn.
Well, can I ask you something? A young gentleman like me, young, charismatic, and fetching in these county blues, why would I be subjected to competency hearing or to an evaluation where I'm clearly cognate of everything I'm doing? It's rubbish.
If only fetching were the standard, I'm not going to argue with you. In the meantime, you're going to Laser Stein. Thank you.
As officers escort Kim out of the courtroom, the Las Vegas local drops some choice British phrases.
C versus Elvin Wilson. C.
After undergoing a second psychological evaluation, Kim is found competent. He entered a not guilty plea and is set to go to trial. For our next story, we dive into the Court Cam archives and head to Cambridge. That's 22-year-old Russell Regan, who just exploded after learning he's about to spend a very long time in prison. Less than a year earlier, in 1993, Regan set fire to a house. Inside lived a family of Cambodian immigrants. Two brothers, a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old toddler, died in the blaze. According to police, Regan did it strictly for thrills. He was charged and convicted with 2 counts of second-degree murder, arson, and 6 counts of assault and battery. He stands before Judge Margot Botsford for sentencing. While Regan buries his head in the defense table, a clerk reads the sentence. Life in prison for each victim. When Regan hears the sentence, he snaps. That's Assistant DA Martin Murphy. Court officers quickly take action, including this one who's out of uniform today. Regan's wrestled to the floor, eventually carried out in shackles. Regan's currently serving 2 life sentences in a correction center in Massachusetts. Next, we take you to a hearing inside the Owsley County Courthouse in Boonville, Kentucky. The defendant is Shane Bird, who's charged with driving under the influence. The presiding judge is William Bo Leach.
Call on docket. The attorney to review charge.
Bird's hearing just ended, and the defendant, who's off camera, has agreed to pay a restitution fine of $500 to a woman he injured while driving under the influence. The issue seems settled, but not so fast. The blonde woman sitting in the back of the courtroom is Ingrid Bird, the defendant's wife. And sitting in the row directly in front of her is the victim's mother, Peggy Gabbard. Judge Leach is ready to begin the next case when suddenly fists begin to fly. Moments earlier, the gallery seemed calm.
Oh, docket.
Then things quickly turned ugly.
Seatbelt.
It's not clear who took the first swing, but that woman on the left with the brown hair is Gabbard, the victim's mother, and she lands a solid right to step in on behalf of the defendant's wife. The man approaching the fight in the orange jumpsuit is Shane Bird, the defendant. After a few minutes, his wife, Ingrid Bird, is removed from the scene and order's restored. But the incident is far from over, as Judge Leach is not happy.
Everybody that was in there, the lady with the red purse, you need to go to the jury box. Who else was involved in that fight?
Ain't got no red.
All right.
The judge is not allowing any of the participants to leave.
Red purse, I told you to come up here. Put him right there. Put him in that front row. Who else was in that? Where's my law enforcement on that?
And don't think the judge has forgotten about the defendant.
The fellow over here that got up out of the jury box. All right, Shane Bird. And who else is there? Y'all got names on everybody that's in that? You got up out of the jury box, and I told you not to when you were running over there saying that was your wife. So, everybody that was in that's getting 30 days in jail and continuing. Lady back there.
The judge has ordered everyone involved to spend 30 days in jail.
Fool in my courtroom, you're all going to have something else coming. So, everybody gets 30 days and continues. You want me to bring her back? What you all thought this was, but this isn't going to happen in my courtroom. Fighting in a court of law, you are out of your mind. You are out of your mind if you think you're going to try to stop anything in court. We got bailiffs in here to do it. And you're sitting in there in jail right now, and I just probated not to stop a fight while you're in handcuffs. This is insane.
The incident ends with at least 4 people being charged with contempt, including the victim's mother, Peggy Gabbard, the defendant, Shane Bird, the woman in the striped shirt, and Shane Bird's wife, Ingrid, who's also hit with an additional charge of assault. Judge Leach gets back to work, but not before sending a final warning.
Breaks out anything today, you're going to get 6 months in jail on contempt. If you all want to try me, you wait and see if you don't get 6 months in jail.
Every day I thank God that it was me and not my wife or my 2 young kids.
Next, we take you inside the Cuyahoga County Courthouse in Cleveland, Ohio. The sentencing of 24-year-old Robert Howes. The defendant pleaded guilty to numerous charges, including aggravated burglary, kidnapping, and robbery. 6 months earlier, he broke into the home of a 70-year-old woman armed with a pistol. He stole valuables while she locked herself in the bathroom. Less than 48 hours later, Howes accosted former NFL wide receiver Joe Juravicius outside his barn, threatening to shoot him unless he handed over his cash. After giving Howes his camera equipment and a gun, he was quickly arrested, since he was already wearing a GPS ankle monitor. Turns out he was on probation after recently being released from prison for similar crimes. At sentencing, both victims share frightening details of the incidents.
I wonder what he was thinking when he jumped up and pointed his gun at me. I was already screaming in terror.
With Howes seated just a few feet away, Juravicius speaks about that terrifying night for both him and his family.
What happened on that September night changed me, no question. He popped up from behind my bar, and for 30 minutes I was terrorized. Repeatedly threatened to shoot me in the head. Forced me to open my safe. Put me on my stomach. And become agitated because he needed more money. Every day I thank God that it was me and not my wife or my 2 young kids that walked in that barn. Clearly, he didn't learn his lesson and was not rehabilitated, and I'm requesting that he receive the maximum sentence allowed by law. Unfortunately, my grandmother told me a long time ago, if you have nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say it, in your honor. At this point, I have nothing good to say.
Before learning his sentence, Howes addresses the judge, asking for leniency.
I'm hardest felon I'm not, never will, never been. Other than a few fights in prison, I've never hurt anybody or anything in my life. I know what I did was wrong, but I didn't shoot, assault, or kill anybody in any way and never had any intention of doing so.
But Judge Nancy McDonald isn't buying.
Holding a gun to people's head and terrorizing them is not a mistake. It is a crime.
And with that, the judge issues her sentence.
The kidnapping, I sentenced to 11 years, plus 3 years for the gun. Count 8, the handling of a weapon while under disability, I sentenced you to 36 months. Count 11, I sentenced you to 12 months.
In total, when the judge finishes reading her sentence, Howes receives 36 years in state prison, a sentence he finds excessive. Howes is scheduled to be released in 2064, when he'll be 70 years old. Next, we're going inside the Cottington County Courthouse in Waterton, South Dakota.
Courthouse is closed. I've been wanting for a very long time.
That's Sheriff's Deputy Mike Morgan, and on the other side of the camera is one of his fellow officers. 2 people left in the courthouse. They patiently waited until the building emptied out today, so there would be no witnesses for what they're about to attempt.
Oh, see, can you see by dawn's early light?
Morgan, who moonlights as a singer, says he'd always wanted to test the acoustics in the old courthouse. As a former Marine Corps member, the Star-Spangled Banner seems like the obvious choice here.
For the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaked.
The rich sound doesn't disappoint, and neither does the deputy.
And the rockets rang clear, the bombs bursting in air.
After the Sheriff's Department posts the video online, Morgan is shocked when his patriotic performance goes viral, getting more than 5 million views.
For the land of the free.
His newfound fame leads to several TV interviews and numerous invitations to perform at major events around the country, and an appearance on Court Cam.
And the home of the brave.
Next, we head to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for the sentencing of Derek Brown. The defendant was found guilty of first-degree sexual assault and kidnapping. A year earlier, Brown forced a young woman into this park at gunpoint, saying he was going to rape her. When she screamed, Brown began to beat her. A nearby resident heard the attack and Brown took off. The victim, who concealed her identity from the media, suffered severe injuries. When police identified Brown's DNA at the crime scene, he was arrested.
He came up behind me, he grabbed my elbow and said, hey, come with me, I have a gun.
And at trial, she courageously testified against her attacker about the details from the night of the incident.
I screamed once, then he raised his weapon again, told me to shut up, told me that he was going to shoot me, and he had the weapon pointed at me again. When I didn't hear it go off, I continued to scream. I don't know how many times I screamed, but that was when he started to attack me.
After deliberating for just 35 minutes, the jury found Brown guilty on all counts. And now, instead of a quiet conclusion at sentencing, Brown,
I'm gonna let y'all know how broken they are. They are bogus. They are heinously convicting me and sentencing me, and I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna speak to the world. You hear me?
I don't care what y'all believe. You know, I'm a man of God. God has my back. He's allowing this to happen for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna work out for my favor. It's gonna work out for my good.
Brown keeps going until the judge finally pulls the plug.
I am a victim. I am going to be victorious.
Turn the microphone off.
Turn the microphone.
The judge had the final statement. He sentenced Brown to 44.5 years in prison and 22 years of extended supervision in case he ever gets out. Next, we go back into the court cam archives, where tempers ran hot at one very tense deposition. This is Jack Garrett, a chemist for Monsanto, St. Louis-based industrial chemical company, being sued by more than 1,700 people in Harris County, Texas. The neighbors are claiming they suffered severe health problems as a result of living near a toxic waste dump site once used by the company to discard hazardous materials. Garrett's here today for a deposition.
You were at Monsanto. What was your title? At Monsanto. In Texas City. Research chemist.
So far, so good. But that's about to change.
Was that your title during your entire stay at Texas City? Yes.
Don't talk over each other.
Interrupting is attorney Edward Karstoffan, who doesn't represent Garrett, but represents Monsanto, the company.
After you left Texas City...
Let me ask a question here.
Yeah.
You represent this guy or not? Who are you? My name's Tucker, and I represent Ayrshire, and I just want to know if you represent the guy or not. If you don't represent him, you don't have any right to be making any objection. If you do represent him, tell us so.
Karstoffan has heard Tucker's suggestion and offers a suggestion of his own.
I want you to keep your mouth shut. I'll do what I want.
No, you're not going to do what you want.
No, wait.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. Whatever objections I want to make, I'll make them as loud as I want to make them. But you just shut your mouth. We'll keep the record straight.
Don't tell me to shut my mouth, boy. Don't make me big, but you want to see how bad you are? Come on.
And I wouldn't try that, Ed.
Are you threatening to fight?
Hold on just a second.
No, I want to know who's side was.
We're going to be outnumbered, Ed.
Meanwhile, Jamail lets Karstoffan know this ain't his first rodeo. He's representing 259 people as the lead attorney for the plaintiffs.
I'm going to tell you something else. You don't run this deposition. You understand?
You, Joe.
You watch and see. You watch and see who does. Big boy.
I'm telling you, Joe.
Oh, you ain't telling me a thing. But don't be telling another lawyer to shut up. That ain't your job, fat boy. Fat boy.
Mr.
Get back.
This deposition, with lawyers making big bucks by the hour, has officially devolved into an exchange of childish insults.
I said before, you have an incipient bad.
What do you want to do about it?
I'd like to knock you on your ass.
Come try it. Come over here and try it, you dumb son of a...
Wait just a second.
I'd like to knock you on your ass.
Come try it. Come over here and try it, you dumb son of a...
Wait just a second.
Come over here. Hold it. Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold it. No way.
Thankfully, the two men never came to blows. But after the insults stopped flying, it was Jamail who ultimately landed the knockout punch. Monsanto Company settled the lawsuit and agreed to pay out $39 million to the plaintiffs. That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.